My wife died a year ago, but today she messaged me. The rain was drumming against the windowpane, a familiar, melancholic rhythm that had become the soundtrack to my life over the past year. A year, 365 days. That's how long it had been since Chloe died. My wife, my best friend, the light in every room. My name's Ethan Hayes, I'm 37, and I was just sitting there, nursing a lukewarm mug of tea, watching the storm outside. My phone buzzed on the table, a dull, unremarkable sound. I picked it up, expecting a work email or a notification from a news app. But the message on the screen sent a shockwave through me, colder than any rain. It was from Chloe. My wife died a year ago, but today she messaged me. The display showed Chloe Hayes. Her profile picture, a vibrant selfie of us laughing on a beach, stared back at me. And the message itself, "Hey, can you pick up milk on your way home?" Ran out. My heart stopped. Then it began to pound, a frantic drum against my ribs. My hands started to tremble so violently I almost dropped the phone. This was impossible. Chloe was gone. I had seen her. I had buried her. I had visited her grave every single week for the last year. My mind, usually so logical and steady, plunged into chaos. Was this a sick joke? Had someone hacked her phone? But who, and why this specific message? It was so mundane, so Chloe. The kind of message she'd send any ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I stared at the screen, tears blurring my vision, hot and fresh, as if the wound of her loss had just been ripped open again. I tried to type a reply, anything, but my fingers wouldn't cooperate. They hovered over the keyboard, useless. I remembered the day, exactly a year ago, July 21, 2024. A car accident. She was on her way to pick up our nephew from school. A drunk driver. The doctors at St. Jude's Hospital had told me she was gone before she even reached the emergency room. My parents, Susan and Robert Hayes, both in their 60s, had been devastated. Her sister, Mia Miller, 35, my sister-in-law, had been inconsolable. My best friend, Noah Vance, 37, had practically moved in with me for weeks, just to make sure I ate, that I didn't completely fall apart. Everyone knew, everyone grieved. This message, it was a cruel, impossible torment. I tried to call the number. It rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. Chloe's voicemail, her cheerful voice, slightly muffled, saying, "Hey, it's Chloe. Can't get to the phone right now, but leave a message and I'll call you back." My blood ran cold. That voicemail hadn't changed since she died. I had kept her number active, unable to let go, just to hear her voice sometimes. But hearing it now, after that message, felt like a deliberate haunting. I frantically scrolled through her old messages. Our entire chat history was there, dating back years. Jokes, plans, declarations of love, everyday errands. It was all so real, so her. But the last message from her, before the accident, had been a simple, "Be home soon, love you." This new message was like an anomaly, a glitch in the fabric of my grief. I showed it to Noah later that evening. He'd come over to check on me, as he often did. He looked at the phone, his usual cheerful demeanor draining from his face. "Ethan, what is this?" he murmured, his voice hushed. He took the phone from my trembling hand, examined it closely. It could be a hack, man. A sick hack. He tried calling, just like I had. Straight to voicemail. He tried tracing the number, knowing a bit about tech from his IT job, but came up empty. "It's a genuine number, connected to a genuine account," he concluded, his brow furrowed. "But it's just not active. This is messed up." He stayed with me that night, just like he had so many nights after Chloe died. We talked, or rather, I talked, rambling about the impossibility of it all, the torment. He listened, offering quiet reassurance, but his eyes held the same baffled fear as mine. The next morning, another message appeared. "Did you get the milk? I wanted to make pancakes." Pancakes. Sunday morning pancakes were our ritual. Chloe's favorite. This was too specific, too personal to be a random hack. This was someone, or something, accessing her digital ghost and weaving it into the tapestry of my life. I typed a shaky reply. "Chloe, is that really you?" No response, just the silence of a digital void where her presence should have been. Days turned into a week. The messages continued, sporadic but unsettlingly normal. A question about dinner plans. A complaint about a leaky faucet, something we actually had in our old apartment. A reminder about a doctor's appointment I had which she would have known about. They were always short, mundane, and deeply personal. They weren't grand, emotional declarations from beyond the grave. They were the everyday fabric of our life together. My grief, which had slowly begun to dull into a constant ache, was now a sharp, agonizing torment. Was I going insane? Was this a manifestation of my own longing, my mind playing tricks on me? I started doubting my sanity. I began to question everything. Had she really died? Was it all a terrible dream? No. The funeral, the grave, the empty side of the bed, the profound, gut-wrenching absence, that was real. I even visited Drive Evans, our family doctor, a kind man in his late 50s. I didn't tell him about the messages directly. I just talked about my grief, the vivid dreams, the sense of her presence. He attributed it to prolonged bereavement, suggested a grief counselor. He thought I was struggling with acceptance. He had no idea I was struggling with a ghost in my phone. I became obsessed. I spent hours analyzing the messages, trying to find a pattern, a clue, anything. I checked the timestamps, the subtle nuances of her language, even the emojis she used, always a specific heart emoji, never a different one. Everything was consistent with Chloe. It was like she was still alive, sending messages from a parallel dimension where she was just running errands. I started looking into her old cloud backups, her social media accounts, any digital footprint she might have left. Her Facebook profile was a memorial page now, managed by Mia. Her Instagram was dormant. Her Google photos were filled with our memories, untouched. There was no sign of activity, no new posts, nothing. Yet, the messages kept coming to my phone, and only my phone. It was almost like a conversation, one-sided, a dialogue with a phantom. I would sometimes reply, trying to test the waters. "What are you doing right now?" I'd type, my heart pounding. Silence. Always silence. She never acknowledged my questions about her death, about her being gone. She only ever messaged about everyday things, as if her world was continuing, oblivious to the fact that she was dead in mine. My social life crumbled further. Noah tried to get me out, but I was glued to my phone, waiting, watching. I became withdrawn, consumed by this impossible mystery. My parents were worried, attributing my increasing isolation to unresolved grief. They didn't understand. How could they? Then, one evening, a message arrived that wasn't mundane. It was a single word. Orion. Orion. My breath hitched. Orion was a constellation, but it was also the name of the stargazing app Chloe had on her phone, an app we'd used countless nights, lying on our balcony, pointing out constellations. It was personal, too personal. I remembered something else about Orion. A specific feature in the app. A function that allowed you to predict celestial events, to track comets and meteor showers. I grabbed Chloe's old phone. I had kept it charged, a morbid comfort, filled with her last selfies, her music, her apps. I opened the Orion app. I navigated to the prediction feature. And there, under, upcoming events, was a custom entry. It wasn't a meteor shower. It was a date, and a set of coordinates. The date was exactly 1 year after the accident, July 21, 2025. Today, and the coordinates pointed to an old, abandoned observatory on the outskirts of the city. It was a place we had visited once, years ago, on a whim. A dilapidated building, overgrown with vines, a forgotten relic. My mind raced. Was this a message from her? A final, cryptic clue? Why, Orion, why today? I drove to the observatory that night, the rain still falling in sheets. My heart hammered with a mixture of fear and a desperate, fragile hope. Was this a trap? Was I walking into some elaborate, cruel trick? Or was there something else here, something beyond my understanding? The observatory was desolate, a skeletal structure against the stormy sky. The gate was rusted open. I walked through the overgrown path, the beam of my phone's flashlight cutting through the gloom. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. I reached the main building, a crumbling dome structure. The old telescope, a giant, rusted metal tube, lay half-collapsed within. Dust and cobwebs hung everywhere. I shone my light around, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Nothing, just an empty, decaying building. Then, I noticed it. On one of the cracked concrete pillars, amidst layers of graffiti, a faint etching. It was the specific heart emoji Chloe always used. And next to it, a small, barely visible arrow, pointing towards a loose stone in the floor. My hands trembled as I knelt, pushing away the debris. The stone was heavy, but it moved. Beneath it was a small, damp recess. And inside, a small, weatherproof pouch. I pulled it out, my fingers fumbling with the clasp. Inside, there was a worn leather journal. And a USB drive. The journal was Chloe's. Her familiar handwriting filled the pages, dating back to weeks before her death. It wasn't about our daily life. It was about something she had discovered. She had been researching her family history, a hobby she'd picked up. She'd found out about her great-grandmother, a brilliant but eccentric scientist who had dabbled in quantum physics and theories of parallel dimensions. Her family, it turned out, had always believed in the possibility of echoes, of alternate realities that occasionally brushed against our own. Chloe had found her great-grandmother's research, hidden away in old family archives. It was a theory, a wild, audacious concept, that in moments of extreme emotional impact, like sudden loss, a connection could be momentarily established between parallel timelines, a faint echo of consciousness reaching across. She had been working on something, a personal project, a way to test this theory. She believed she could create a brief, one-way bridge for information, for messages, from one timeline to another. The journal revealed her intention. If anything ever happened to her, if she died prematurely, she wanted to send a message to me, from a parallel reality where she was still alive. Not a message to bring her back, or to change my past. But a message to let me know she was okay, that she was still existing, somewhere. A way to ease my grief, to offer a glimpse of peace, knowing that her life continued, even if not in my reality. She had designed a complex algorithm, synced with her phone, to trigger at a precise moment, linked to a specific celestial alignment which was what Orion referred to. The car accident, it had triggered the extreme emotional impact she theorized about. Her consciousness, her digital self, in a parallel timeline where she lived, had sent the messages. It was her final act of love, a desperate attempt to comfort me from beyond the veil of realities. The USB drive contained the full research, the algorithms, and a final video message. I inserted it into my laptop, my heart in my throat. Her face filled the screen. She was smiling, her eyes bright, alive. "Hey, Ethan," she began, her voice clear, real. "If you're watching this, then, well, you know. I hope the messages weren't too much of a shock. I couldn't bear the thought of you being completely alone, completely lost. I'm okay here, really. Things are different, but good." She talked about the parallel reality she was experiencing, a version of our life where the accident hadn't happened. She talked about mundane things, about her day, about us. It was a window into a life I had lost, a life that continued elsewhere. "I love you, Ethan," she concluded, her smile unwavering, but her eyes held a profound sadness, an understanding of the impossible distance between us. "Remember that, and live your life. Be happy. I'll always be with you, in every reality." The video ended. I sat there in the crumbling observatory, the rain still falling, but the heavy grief in my heart had shifted. It hadn't vanished, but it had transformed. Chloe was gone from my reality, but she wasn't gone. She was existing, living, loving, in another. She had found a way to bridge the unbridgeable, to send me a final, impossible message of comfort. The messages stopped coming after that night. The Orion event, the celestial alignment, had been a one-time window, a brief connection across the cosmic divide. My life didn't magically go back to normal. The pain of her absence was still there, a part of me. But now, it was tinged with a strange, profound peace. I wasn't just grieving a lost love, I was mourning a separation across dimensions. And I carried the knowledge that somewhere, in an alternate reality, my Chloe was still making pancakes, still complaining about leaky faucets, still living. I started seeing the grief counselor drive. Evans recommended. I talked about Chloe, about our life, but I kept the impossible secret of the messages in the observatory to myself. It was too wild, too unbelievable for anyone else to grasp. It was our secret, Chloe's and mine. The storm eventually faded, replaced by clear skies. I started going out more, meeting Noah, spending more time with my parents. I even smiled more, a genuine smile that reached my eyes. Because now, when I looked at the stars, I didn't just see vast, empty space. I saw the promise of infinite possibilities, of parallel lives, and of a love that transcended even death, echoing across realities. My wife died a year ago, but today she messaged me. And that message changed everything, not by bringing her back, but by showing me she was never truly gone.